Hi, I'm Mark Opperman, President of Veterinary Management Consultation in Evergreen, Colorado. Tell me, have you ever had a client come and say to you, or when they pick up their pet, boy, that's expensive? I'm sure you've heard that before. Well, I have a thought about that. And the thought is, price is only an issue in the absence of value. Let me give you a little thought here and a little scenario. What I'd like to do is I want to run through two different scenarios of something very typical that happens in your practice every single day. So let's take the first scenario. And in this case, a client comes into the practice, they bring in Casey, their dog, for an ovariohysterectomy. And as soon as they walk in that door, it's a busy practice. There's a number of people at the reception desk. It takes quite a bit of time for them to get up to the receptionist.
Hi, what are you here for?
Bringing my dog in for surgery.
What's your name?
Mr. Smith.
Yeah, I see you down here. Go ahead and have a seat.
All right.
The client sits down. Now, in this reception area, let's just picture this. Older type of practice, right? Has an odor to it. Magazines are old. They scotch taped posters up to the waiting room wall. But anyway, the client sits there, and 15, 20 minutes later, they hear from across the waiting room,
Mr. Smith, you're next.
It's a receptionist screaming for them.
We're ready to bring Casey on back. You can pick her up between 5 and 6.
Okay.
Well, the client leaves. They're not feeling very good about this, but they come back at 5, 6 o'clock again. Very, very busy, a lot of people in the reception area. Takes quite a few minutes for them to get to the reception desk. Finally, they get up to the reception desk. Same receptionist is sitting there.
Hi, I'm here to pick up Casey.
Oh, what was your name again?
Mr. Smith.
Oh, yeah, I remember you. Go have a seat.
All right.
So the client sits down. 15, 20 minutes later, you guessed it, across the waiting room.
Mr. Smith, you're next.
So the client comes back up.
We're ready to discharge Casey over to you, so if you'll just sign this, we'll bring her on out.
They give the client a bill for $149. The client fills out a check. A few minutes later, Casey comes out, and the client's told to come back 7 to 10 days later to have the sutures removed. Amazing, huh? You would be surprised how many practices that very scenario plays out every single day. Let's change it. I want to give you another scenario. Let's look at another paradigm here on maybe how this could be done. So let's go to scenario 2. Now, the client walks into the practice.
Hi, Mr. Smith. I see Casey's here for her ovarian hysterectomy.
Yes, she is.
Would you please take a seat and we'll be with you in a moment.
That client's impressed. They sit down. The reception area, beautiful. Nice, comfortable chairs, current, up-to-date magazines. There's a television monitor. Maybe they're catching a little bit of the morning news. But they sit down, again, very nice environment. And a few minutes later, Susan, the doctor's technician, comes out. She greets the client and escorts them into the exam room. In the exam room, the technician goes over the surgical procedure, answers any questions or problems for the client, and then asks them again to come back that evening between 5 or 6 to pick up their pet. So the client leaves, certainly feeling much better about it, but guess what? About 1 o'clock, they get a call from the hospital. And now, Susan, the technician, wants to tell them the pet is out of surgery, doing great. And in fact, the doctor wants to talk to her that evening when she picks up Casey to go over postoperative care discharge instructions. So we set up an appointment for 5:10 p.m. 5:10 rolls around. Client walks in the door. As soon as they walk in the door, the receptionist is there, greets the client.
Hello, Mr. Smith. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I just saw Casey and she's doing great. I bet she's excited to go home with you.
Great.
So again, the client sits down, maybe they grab a cup of coffee. A few minutes later, the client's escorted into the exam room, and then the doctor. Now that's a biggie. The doctor comes in, and the doctor spends 3 to 5 minutes with the client going over postoperative care discharge instructions. After that, the client comes out, they pay their bill. Let's again say it was $149, same as the first scenario. And a few minutes later, after they pay their bill, Susan, the technician, brings out Casey. They show the client the incision area, what to do to keep that clean and dry, and they even help that client put Casey into the back seat of the car because they don't want Casey jumping up in the car seat. Well, the client, again, is very, very impressed. They go home. Later that night, the client is called by either the doctor or the technician to follow up with a medical recall. As you know, one call made to one client is potentially told to 5 other people. What a great, great tool to help grow your practice. Well, that's scenario 2. And there's no question that there is immense difference between scenario 1 and scenario 2. Price is only an issue in the absence of value. When your clients someday complain about price, please think about that. Is it really price, or is it lack of perceived value? The answer to this problem is not to decrease fees. It is not to discount your services, but instead bring value to that which we do for our clients, and most importantly, their pets.